So welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, thanks for tuning in. So, got a computer over here. I know, imagine that, computer on a PC channel. But anyways, this is one that I got from a customer. It's a bit sketchy, the whole interaction. So this has been a process over, I wanna say maybe about 45 days. And now we're gonna look into it. So let's kind of give you a little history. So years ago when I started working on computers, I lived in an apartment complex, and what I used to do was put those pieces of paper on there with the little slips with your phone number and advertising, hey, PC repair, you know, what my price was, what I'm offering to do. And it worked really good, especially for the apartment complex. A lot of people would call me and say, hey, I live on apartment 302, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Can you come check it out? And I did really good doing that for years. Fast forward, I had a full-time job. I was making decent money over that. So I kind of got away from that. And I got myself to the point where I was able to just pick and choose my customers and not have to, go out and deal with potentially sketchy people. I mean, if you're ever, doing kind of mobile PC type stuff, you kind of know that sometimes you end up in weird places, and it's like, yeah, that's a whole nother probably video and topic in itself. But it was kind of nice. I was able to stick to, close friends and families and just short recommendations. So with my recent career decision, I've actually been advertising my PC services, been getting a couple of jobs here and there, which I've been very thankful for. But then this one pops up. So I get a text message. I've been advertising my service. I get a text message. Hey, you offer PC services. What do you got? Blah, 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 this, that, and the other. And, I pretty much told him, well, as in the advertisement, this is what I do. What's wrong with your computer? And he responds, I don't know, not sure, yada, yada, yada. So I offer to meet. I say, hey, I'll meet you somewhere. So he agrees. He gives me the address to apartment complex. And I pull up. And when I pull up, the computer is sitting on the hood of this dude's car. Whatever. Dude comes up, I introduce myself, and I'm like, hey, so what's going on? What you need done? And this is how he says it, which the whole thing was sketchy in itself, especially the apartment complex I was at. It was sketchy. But I mean, hey, at this point, I'm committed. So he tells me it needs a window. I'm like, it's got tempered glass. It does have windows. Well, I didn't say that, but I'm thinking that. I was like, you mean a copy of Windows? He goes, yeah, a window. I said, okay, is there anything else you want me to do? A fresh copy of Windows or anything? He goes, I need a graphics motherboard. I was like, well, it does have one. He goes, I want something, nice and fancy. So he's kind of in a rush, which is like raising red flags for me. And I'm like, okay. I told him straight up, I says, if you want a graphics card, I could get you one. I do have some to sell. Or if you want to just go out and buy one and bring it to me, I'll kind of give you an idea of what you could look for. If you have one in mind. He goes, no, I got one. My boy has one. I said, okay. So I take the computer, I give him the contract, which I normally don't do this, but I did this at this point to kind of protect myself. You want to alleviate any all liability. So I give him a copy of the contract and I say, hey, this is the contract. This is what I charge. This is my fee. And then after that, if I don't get communication from you within 30 days of communication, it becomes abandoned property. Know your state's laws. In North Carolina, if it's obvious that they've made no attempt to reach out to you, communicate back to you, you do fall under the abandoned property clause, and you can actually set a deadline. I have found that 30 days has been pretty decent on the civil side, and that's always worked good for me. He's like, yeah, fine, take it, go. Okay, cool. What raises another red flag is I load it up in the truck, get in my truck, and I start driving off. He gets in his car and he leaves the complex. Like, he don't live there. Or maybe he does, or maybe he was going to McDonald's to get a hamburger. I don't know. So I bring it back to the garage and I'm like, I'm gonna leave this thing alone. So I do the visual inspection, don't smell no sign of roaches or anything like that. I know, this is a first for the channel, no roaches. I've had that luck lately. And it's just kind of been sitting up on the shelves. So the next day goes, I reach out to the guy, say, hey, what's the update on the graphics card before I dive into it? No response. A couple of days go by, still no response. A week goes by, I haven't heard from this dude. So then my countdown begins. I waited 30 days, and then finally I sent him a message, say, hey, I haven't responded to you. If I don't hear from you in the next 7 days, it is abandoned property. It does become mine, all that good stuff. No response. So it's actually been 45 days. This has been sitting in the garage. It is now abandoned property. It belongs to me. So let's dive into it, see what's wrong with it. What specs does it got? I kind of got an idea just looking at it. I haven't opened it up or done anything like that, but let's just take a look at it and see if this thing is worth anything. So let's throw this on the bench. And like I said, folks, I normally don't do the whole contract abandoned thing. You know, I just kind of go with the feel, but this just didn't feel right. It is what it is on that. But looking at it, I haven't really opened it up. I mean, as you can see on the glass, you kind of get an idea. Just taking preliminaries. Got some decent items that I can reuse for future builds. So that's not bad. At this point, I'm not at a loss for anything. So that's a good thing. And that's another reason why I didn't dive into it, was because I haven't heard from the customer. I don't want to waste like an hour trying to install Windows, diagnose this, see what it needs, what it doesn't need, and then I'm out my time, and time is money. So looking at it just for the preliminary, obviously it's an older AMD one. It's probably going to be something like an FX 6300, 8320, maybe an 8350. I don't know. But it has the DOM plats, probably 32 gigs if I had to assume, a GTX 760, a 1 terabyte Samsung Evo SSD, and things are just kind of loosely, you know, yeah, they were just thrown together. And a Thermaltake Smart 600 watt, which doesn't give me confidence because I had a PC that was given to me, and that power supply was bad. So I think what I'm just going to go ahead and do is just fire it up, see if it even turns on. Does it even post? Does it do anything? So let's try that from there. I've already done my visual. I've done the smell test. I smell no signs of like, you know, roach infestation, anything being burned. I don't see anything that's broken or anything like that. Everything seems to be plugged in. CPU power. Looks like the power pin down here, I don't know how well you can see it, but that seems to be plugged in. So maybe this thing was running. But he says it just needs a copy of Windows, so, or a window, like he said, which means that it just probably boots and doesn't do anything. Well, it posts and it doesn't boot, so I don't know. All right, let's fire it up. Okay, so it turns on. I haven't heard any pops or smokes. Okay. Fans are ramping up 100%. What do we got? We got an Asus M5A 99FX Pro R2.0 edition. CPU, okay, an FX 8320, not bad. Total memory, 32 gigs of DDR3, 1333. I mean, for an old system, it's not spec terrible, but how well does the FX CPUs hold up like years later? Guess we'll find out. And, oh, it does pick up the SSD, 1 terabyte, so we're not off to a bad start. Press F1 to run setup. Sure. All right, our date and time's all wonky. I'll deal with that later. CPU temp, 31 degrees Celsius. Maybe these fans up front don't have PWM control. That's what I would assume, but let's see. 1700 RPM, 1800 RPMs, and they look like Corsairs. We'll dive into it. We'll open it more in just a sec. Guess we're on normal mode. Let's go to advanced. Yeah, everything seems to be working, so yeah, it probably doesn't have anything on it. So, all right. Let me come up with a plan, and we'll be right back. Had to make myself a copy of Windows 10. So I think what I'm gonna do is go ahead and install Windows 10, just see how this thing performs. CPU still got some life left in it. I am gonna put a better graphics card in here and just kind of see how well this thing holds up like years later. I have my doubts, obviously, but you know, it might be enough to just tickle the fancy, get your feet wet, all that type of good stuff. So let's get Windows 10 installed. All right. I'm noticing when I'm moving it, something is moving around in there. They probably have a mechanical drive in there, so I might have to open that up, secure it. I'm pretty sure it's not plugged in because, well, I only see, let's take a look at it. I only see one SATA cable, and considering that all the SATA power is right there, so probably a mechanical drive in there. Wouldn't be the first time. Just probably have to take it out, see if it's any good and whatnot, but I'm going to focus on Windows 10. So Windows 10 installed, no issues, which is a good sign. I have found that if you can't even install Windows, you're potentially dealing with bad hardware, CPU, memory, motherboard, even SSD. So it kind of gives me an idea that most of this stuff is working. We still got installed drivers. test this graphics card. But I think before I start doing updates and going down that rabbit hole, I do want to change out this graphic card. It has a GTX 760, but also want to go through it, take out that mechanical hard drive that's in there that's dancing around, because that thing has been clunking. Even when I was driving around with it in my truck, it just kind of heard it, clunk and rattle around, just moving it and all that type of stuff. And then the cool thing I like about buying PCs from somebody else that, they built or come together, love to see the build quality. So let's fire this thing down and dive into it. So first things first, it's the Mucinex case. Well, Mucitex. I just like calling it Mucinex. But it's pretty interesting if you take a look at the fans in the front. Let's pop this off. Come on. Whoa, thing fired up. Don't do that. Okay. There we go. So, can anybody see what's wrong with this? Anybody? Let me know in the comments. These are 140s, so they have a screw here, screw here, screw here. And because the 140s wasn't designed for this case, just kind of hanging around. Approved. I like it. Nice. Diving into it, like I said, we have the Dom Plats. These are 32 gigs. Has this Cooler Master fan, which, okay, gets it done. Now these fans over here on the front, they're Corsairs. Don't know the models of them, really doesn't matter. But they're plugged into the chassis headers, PWM. So I don't know why they're going 100% full beans. The CPU temperatures look pretty decent, so all right. Now for our graphics card, we have the EVGA GeForce GTX 760. We'll definitely have to swap that out. Maybe I'll put a 1080 Ti in here, RX 580. We'll see what I got that would work. Let's go ahead and take this thing out since I'm already here. Now, anything interesting on the motherboard that I can see? I mean, this thing looks like it's in fairly decent condition. It's not like dusty or terrible, but the SSD is just dangling right there. I think the way this case works is that you actually screw it right over here. Yeah, there's 4 holes that mount up with this, so we'll screw right over there. Other than that, nothing else. Let's take out the one screw or thumb capture screw that's actually holding this panel together, because the one on the bottom is missing. All right. So our cable management, not terrible. Well, okay, it's pretty terrible. They just kind of threw things in there, not zip tied. I mean, honestly, cable management, is it a deal breaker? I mean, I'll look at it this way. The cables are there. They're not pinching or really doing anything. I mean, I don't know. I think it's a matter of preference, professionalism. Let me know your opinion about cable management in the comments. All right, let's pull out this mechanical drive. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. Okay. That's a gun. That's a gun. Holy crap. All right. Let me pause for a sec. Holy crap, Batman. I have never, in the years that I've been working on computers, have ran into anything like this. This kind of aggravates me because there's a lot of liability, the dangerous factor of it, and now I got to deal with another headache with this. I should have known. The area I went to was very sketchy. It's a high crime area. Jeez, man. And this has been in my house, well, in my garage for like over a month. I should have checked this thing sooner. All right. Got gloves on. Don't want to get fingerprints on it. Let's go ahead and just want to make sure that there's no wires or anything on the trigger. Got to make sure this thing is not loaded. All right, jeez. So it doesn't have an ammo clip, but still, you never know if there's one in the chamber. Treat every weapon as if it's loaded. Jeez, man. All right. Thank God that wasn't loaded. Okay, so I'm gonna end the video here for now. When I come back, I'll let you guys know exactly what happened and all that type of stuff. Great, now we gotta go hang out with the police. Awesome, so we'll be back. Well, that was fun. So it's actually the next day. So here's what happened. So I went to the jurisdiction where I got the PC from. I could have called it my local jurisdiction, but I went to the jurisdiction I got it from, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. I went over there, called them ahead of time, say, hey, this is what I got. I'm en route to your police station. And they were like, okay, that's fine. Officer will meet you in there. Just, exit the vehicle just for safety and all that type of stuff. And they were really cool. They were fantastic. So I got out, spoke to them, met with the officer, and I said, hey, this is in the bed of my truck. If he pulled off the panel, because I put the gun back in there, if he pulled off the side panel on the back side of the PC, that's where it is. So he goes, he pulls it out, he clears it again. Folks, treat every weapon as if it's loaded and practice good safety measures. So he does that, and he goes back to his computer, he runs it. The gun is stolen. It's a stolen gun. Like, whoa, mind blown. Never have had that. I've had Cheetos, seen dead mice and roaches and pencils, dryer sheets, toys. I've seen tons of things that people have stuffed into computers. I have never seen that before. That was intense, yeah, to say the least. Not that I'm saying I'm afraid of guns, by no means. So in case any of you guys didn't know, I used to be a police officer, 14 years. I dealt with weapons all the time. So it's not even that I'm afraid of it or anything like that. So it's just shock. You're expecting to do one thing, and if you see something that that you're not expecting, it kind of throws you for a loop, messes up your OODA loop, if that's the correct words that I'm using. So yeah, he runs it. It comes back as stolen. I was like, wow. It was pretty cool because actually the guy that was there, he recognized me from when I was on the job and all that type of stuff. Not gonna get into the details behind it, but there's more to that, and I'm not gonna share those details by no means by that, but yeah, I will say that the gun was stolen, so that was intense. I provided him the phone number that I got from the person that sold it, description of the guy. I didn't bring my camera, which I think from now on I will bring my camera, or at least get a dash cam to record it, but described the area and all that type of stuff, and he pretty much told me that, they'll forward it to a detective and they'll let me know. So of course, I asked the question, I was like, so as far as the PC, do I get that back? Every jurisdiction is different. He called the detective. He said, just give me a property receipt, get a good phone number for me. They said, as long as they don't have any reports of a PC or that type of PC being stolen or anything, he said to give it about a week or two, call back and they'll see if they can release it. He's fairly confident that they're not going to need it for anything. I did tell him that I did wear gloves. If you ever run into a situation like that, hopefully you don't run into a situation like that, wear gloves. And the reason why is because then my fingerprints are on it and it messes up their case. They're going to try to look for fingerprints of the last person who handled it. And if your fingerprints are on there, now you're not saying that you're culpable or would be culpable or anything like that, but you don't want to mess up the evidence. So thankful for my prior experience in law enforcement. That really, it helps. It helps. And for those of you guys that, are into this type of weapons or anything, you know the deal. Be careful with it. Respect the weapon. You'll never have an issue like that. So I'm kind of bummed because I really wanted to tinker around with that. Well, it's not here anymore, as you can see. Yeah, I really wanted to tinker around with that 8320 FX, pop in a graphics card with it and just see how well that computer lasts years later. And then also the fact that it did fall under abandoned property, and I did explain that to the law enforcement officer. Said, yep, it's abandoned property all day long. I could have used the case for another build. It had a decent power supply. It had that 1 terabyte SSD. So, there was parts that I needed for other builds, but that's the name of the game, and that's just, the area that I live in. Now, I didn't buy it from my area where I live in. I bought it probably about 15, 20 minutes from where I lived in. But when I got there, I recognized the area and I was like, oh man, this is Sketchyville. And then the dude was sketchy. He was in a rush. And considering that he ghosted me, my assumptions would be he knew that was in there and he just wanted to get rid of it quick. So I'm pretty sure that number is bogus that he used. It is what it is like that. Yeah, that is a bummer, but it is what it is. I'm glad that I got that PC, in the sense that I would have hated for him to sell it to some kid or some young guy that doesn't know anything about the guns, mess up the evidentiary value of it, or better yet, somebody, some young person just ends up hurting themselves, just being reckless with it, just, to say the least. So that was intense. Did not expect that. That's one for, the checklist of things that I've never planned to experience or do in my life, but hey, it is what it is. If I'm able to get that computer back, we'll pop it on the bench, we'll tinker around with it, we'll play with it and all that good stuff. And there'll be another part of this video, and hopefully I can provide a little bit more updates on what happened with that. And if not, then, well, hey, poop happens, I guess. So comment down below, let me know your thoughts, concerns, criticisms. Have you ever ran into a sketchy situation like that with the computer? I mean, I think the worst I ever had was a stolen laptop that came into the garage one time. What are your tips and tricks to kind of protect yourself and exonerate yourself? And finally, how well do you think that 8320 will perform in 2025? If you like this video, definitely hit the like button, subscribe if you're not, and as always, we'll see what other mess I get myself into.